Hey, we're falling into fandom. Up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
Friday to make us all happy. I needed Friday this week. It's been like one of those weeks. I told my poor students today, I said, I woke up on the cranky side of the bed. I don't know why. It's nothing personal, but please go over there and shut up and never speak to me again.
Until next week.
Yeah, it was just one of those days. And it's really sweet because I have that relationship with my students that I can just kind of be honest with them, and because we're all human. And I've been trying to teach them that is like, this is my job and I'm a person, and sometimes I just have those days where I wake up and I'm just not in the mood to put up with it. So don't try
with anything.
No, with nothing. Like the grown-ups, I growled at a few grown-ups today. Like just everybody got my wrath today. It was just one of those days. So it's probably good that I have Friday so I can like rest. And
I kind of lucked out today because I didn't get that.
You didn't get that from me because you were real busy.
Yeah.
So you didn't have too much time to like ping me, so I didn't growl at you. I was like, you know what? He's not conversing. I'm not going to converse with him so that he doesn't have to feel the wrath.
He's smart. He's been married long enough.
We've been married for a long time, so he's like, it must be a wrath day. I'm going to take a break.
I'm just really busy today.
Throw myself into work.
Just really got to work, honey. I don't know. I can't.
So we're talking about fandom.
Yeah. So Vincent and I love fandom. I mean, that's the whole reason why we started this. Because believe it or not, we've been doing this. Well, Vincent's been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah, I think it's almost 7.
Almost 7 years, yeah. And so we've been through this we went through this like influx of fandom where everything blew up and there was like a million conventions everywhere, and all the Marvel Universe movies kind of helped have like an explosion of fandom. And then COVID hit.
But we kind of started right before that really kicked off.
We started right before that. And so the goal was to kind of explain it to people because like social media was starting to kind of really take an upturn and people were starting to kind of notice fandom a little bit. And Vincent and I grew up in that era where, being a comic book geek, being a role player, those things were all looked at as being negatives and you were like made fun of.
But there was like so many things within the different fandoms. There's like subgenres of that. Like you have sci-fi, but under that you have of course like steampunk,
right?
You have diesel punk, you have Star Wars and Star Trek, and those are all
Doctor
fandoms.
Who and
Those are all fandoms in and of themselves.
Right. Yeah. So we kind of wanted to bring that awareness because it's always been something that he and I have grown up with and been interested in. Like my dad was really into Doctor Who. Like I watched Doctor Who back when it was shown on PBS, and the Doctor was, I forgot his name. He had the curly hair and the long scarf. So my dad watched that. My mom loved Star Trek, and so we watched Star Trek together. My dad loved Buffy. My dad was an artist, so he used to draw. He used to like to draw comic stuff. He preferred more of like the fantasy art, like Conan the Barbarian and stuff like that.
We used to watch stuff like back in our day, like Quantum Leap. Automan, if you remember that one.
I don't remember that one.
That one was a really cool one. You don't remember that one?
It's
probably before your time.
I remember Quantum Leap. That's about I remember.
But it was Desi Arnaz Jr.
Really?
Desi Arnaz kid that was in that.
One of the ones that I really liked growing up was The Greatest American Hero.
Yeah.
It was like super cheesy, but like really cute, kind of a Superman-esque kind of, real nice guy, you know, turns superhero kind of thing or whatever. So it was kind of cute. So we did have things when we had the original Hulk, which I loved, like Lou Ferrigno and everything. That was like a really great show. So we had these little blips, these little moments of fandom that showed up. But
and then we would have like the blip of like Superman and Star Wars.
You get Christopher Reeve and you get Star Wars. But it was still not seen, even as big as Star Wars was at the time, it's during our time it still wasn't seen as something that made you cool or interesting, or you felt like you had a big group of friends, right? You kind of had this like underground society of geeks and stuff, and you know, you read comics and played role-playing games in the dark, you know, kind of thing. So we wanted people to feel like a little more comfortable with fandom and being okay with that. And then you kind of have the flip side too, where you have the gatekeepers, right?
Yeah. We've had a couple shows on this.
Right, because we've experienced it ourselves. We've been told because we have this kind of show that we are not big enough fans of certain things and we shouldn't be talking about it. And we know some people who are friends of ours who've actually stopped like going to conventions and things like that because of the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar with what a gatekeeper is, and if you're new to fandom and you're wondering kind of like what fandom is, a gatekeeper is somebody who's like a super fan of something, and they tend to have read all the books and know everything about the universes and know what's canon and know what's not, and have all these facts about whatever they enjoy, and they feel like they kind of own that fandom and it belongs to them, and that if other people don't like it to the same level that they do, then those people aren't allowed to be part of it, right?
Right.
So we also wanted to start the show because we had experienced that kind of stuff as well, because it shouldn't have to be that way, right? If you like something and you're new to something and you want to be a part of it and you want to like it, people shouldn't be trying to stop you.
Right, but a lot of it stems from how those people were treated in like high school and stuff like that, by like jocks and stuff like that. So it's really unfortunate that they feel that they have to attack in such a way to kind of flex their muscle.
Right. Yeah.
For it. I mean, you're doing the same thing that the jocks did to you.
Right. And you make it, and you push people to the point where they don't want to come into the fandom. So I think that's why we wanted to do Fall Into Fandom, because we still want it to be, or we're hoping at least, that it's open. And it's open for people, and we can kind of talk to y'all today about what are some avenues that you can take if you want to get into certain fandoms, right? If there's something that you want to be a part of that you're not part of yet, but you've kind of seen it and you think, well, you know, that could be pretty interesting. I might really like that. You know, I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and I'd like to pick it up as a hobby. So we're going to kind of talk about different kinds of fandom there are, and some of the ways that you can kind of pick that up and become kind of part of it. So Vince, what do you think is your like number one? What is your number one fandom? What would you say is your number one fandom?
It's really, I think now, even though I'm big into Superman is like my big fandom. Even not even DC as a whole, just Superman.
Right.
But I've really started moving more towards Star Wars.
Yeah, I would say so too. I think Star Wars is your number one fandom, and Star Wars has a lot of gatekeepers.
Yeah, a ton of them.
So what would you tell a new? Because there's young kids, right? A lot of my students are 12. 11, so they weren't alive. Some of them don't have parents who weren't alive when the first set of movies were made.
True.
Yikes.
It's dating me with my gray hair.
Yeah. but it still speaks to some of them, right? And so they have a hard time because they actually like the newer movies because that's what speaks to them, right? That's what they've seen, and that's what has more of the effects and stuff that they're used to, right? So somebody who's new to Star Wars,
here's what I
would
have
you
to say. But here's what I have to say to that. If you're a true fan, you'll love whatever they put out.
Well, I think people would disagree with you on that.
If you love the Spurs, you're gonna love them regardless if they win or lose.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If you love Star Wars, yeah, is it as strong as their other movies? Maybe not. But it's still not as horrible as how it's being depicted.
But see, to like the younger generation, the newer movies are very strong to them, and the older ones are kind of boring.
But here's what we have to understand about what's new is it has to pander to the masses, not this subsection that knows everything about the original.
Do you think that it helps with being part of the Star Wars fandom, or it helps kind of grow your interest in the fandom if you like read some of the comics? Because we've tried to buy you some comics, and you're not a big reader, but some of them. I just like to give him a hard time about not reading.
No, I really like the comics because it gives you a background of some of the things. Well, like there's all this time that goes in between each of the movies. There's time that passes between those movies, and you don't know what happens during that time. A lot of the comics bring out what happens during that time, or a lot of the books brought out what happened during those times. And
I haven't read that yet, but one of the teachers that I work with, she's younger. She's the age of one of our children. But she and her spouse really love the Star Wars universe. And again, they've gotten pulled in because of like The Mandalorian.
Right.
They've watched Clone Wars, The Bad Batch, things like that have really helped kind of tie all that in. So that's what she has decided for herself, for her love of the fandom, is she's going back and checking out some of the novels. Because she's a reader. She likes to read too. So for her, that was a good path for her to go down. And they do, they're starting to do some costuming.
But there's like all this stuff about Luke Skywalker that most people don't even know about. They don't even realize how strong with the Force that Luke is, because we kind of just, the last time you really get him for real is the last Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, we missed that whole time in between.
Yeah.
Of what he's doing and how he's growing.
And how he's grown from that, because at the end of that, he wasn't a very strong Jedi.
Right. Because
he really
he's really fairly new to it,
but
and he was awfully old.
He grew exponentially after that.
So as someone who's trying to fall into the fandom of Star Wars, what are some things that you would recommend that they do if they want to kind of bolster their fandom? What would you recommend?
I really got into the costuming part of it, as well as to the sabersmithing. And that's been a lot of fun, learning how to put together your own lightsaber from start to finish.
And I've seen your fandom grow from that, because you've been so much more interested in like the kyber crystals and what the story is behind all of that. So I've seen you doing some more research. So do you think that in order to grow your fandom, you should maybe kind of pick up other parts of that fandom that maybe you weren't necessarily sure about or didn't think that you might like, but at least kind of try it, kind of dip your toe in the water, and see how you feel
I've dipped
about
into
those?
the comics. I've looked at some of the books, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there. A lot of it, they're not calling it, what is it called?
Not canon?
Canon. They're considering not calling it canon anymore because of everything that's changed.
Right.
Because of the new movies. But there's some interesting stories in there, and interesting stories of Sith that were referred to in the prequels.
Well, and there's a whole like kind of, I guess, I don't know if it's necessarily a subgenre, but it's people who love the fandom, but then they write their own fan fiction. So again, not canon, but some really interesting stories that come up from people like that are in their minds and things that they think of.
It's interesting you say that, because I was looking at this article today, actually, and it was before I knew what we were talking about today. It was an article about like who else has, you know, been able to raise Thor's hammer. And somebody created a comic. It was a fan-created comic about Mr. Rogers.
I've seen that one.
That he was worthy to pick up
Oh, how cute.
Thor's hammer.
Oh, I haven't seen that. That sounds cute.
That's
Yeah.
where it's like, it may be heavy to some, but it's not heavy to everybody.
Yeah.
I saw that. It was cute. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, he could pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be. He would obviously be one who would be worthy to pick it up.
Yeah. So I think that that's another good way to look into some of these fandoms, is look at some of that fan fiction, because then you get the perspective of that fandom from the actual fans, right? So you're getting to see people who have invested time and energy in it and really love it and really care about it, and they're building off those stories. Ooh, sorry. Somebody yawned. Somebody yawned. I'm not going to say who, Aaron. And then I
Yeah.
saw it and I picked it up.
Yeah, but a lot of well, going back to like Star Wars, like one of the first things that I saw was a fan-created film short called Pink 5. And it was a character that was created, and I thought it was so cool. That was one of the first fan-created Star Wars things that's out there, and now there's a bunch of them.
One of my favorite ones that I ever saw was the extended cut scene that they did with Ben and Anakin. But when he's Darth Vader, when Ben gets cut down, but it's just this whole long scene of them fighting, because we know from the prequels that they have, and so this is like Anakin's chance to like get his revenge back. And so somebody did that, and I was like, I need this.
Even the fight choreography was better. And then you're like
I would have
Wow.
just died to have seen that in the theaters, like just to have seen that extension of them. So to have fans go in and do this, and for you to get to see that, and you're thinking, yeah, like that would have been great. So I definitely think that that's another way to pick up the fandom, is to check out those fan fiction, whether it's just reading an article that they've done, or you can check out YouTube videos that people have made. People make cartoons, people make their own comics. There's really a lot of, you know, homebrew stuff that people who really love something are gonna do. So I think that that's another way to pick up on the fandom. A really simple way to pick up on the fandom, like if you're just like starting to get interested in something, is to find something on social media, right? And not every group is going to fit for you. I've tried to be a part of a couple of groups and didn't enjoy them, and tried some other ones and did enjoy them. So it's a trial and error thing. Don't give up just because you get in a group and it just so happens that the people in that group on social media, you know, don't take to you quickly, or there is going to be some of that gatekeeping again, like we talked about. I tried to be part of a Star Wars kind of gaming group on social media at one point, and they were not very kind and were pretty negative, and it was kind of an all boys club, and that kind of happens to
it wasn't
girls.
all of them.
No, but it was enough that it made me not want to be part of that group anymore, and so I just didn't. I just didn't, because there's other groups out there, right? So if a group,
and groups that are much more welcoming.
Yeah, if a group is not making you feel welcome, I mean, that's going to happen sometimes, and I think that people get discouraged really quickly, and they just think that everybody in the fandom is going to be like that, and that's not necessarily true. So don't get discouraged and feel like you can't find a group or you can't be part of the fandom because a couple of grumpy people, weren't very welcoming to you. So, and I think we tend to do that a lot nowadays.
One of the coolest I said the first one was the Pink Five, but one of the best ones is Vader Episode 1, and that was created by Star Wars Theory. He's a YouTuber that talks about like all stuff Star Wars, but he created a short about Vader, and it was really good. Really good. Yeah. If you could ever catch that, you should definitely do. And that was done in 2018.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So Star Wars is a pretty easy one to get. There's kind of a lot out there. So Star Wars is a pretty easy fandom.
So that's my big fandom. But what's your big fandom that you're into?
Ooh. Why did you ask me?
Because it's the show.
It's picking up a lot.
Oh, from the dog or from me moving?
From just moving too much.
Okay, sorry.
You keep messing with it.
I fidget a lot. I'm a fidgeter. I need one of those little spinners. You know what? That's hard. I would say kind of comics in general is my biggest one because I am a reader. And so I gotta bring it up.
Like she's the only one that reads comics.
We're illiterate. It's okay.
Yeah. And I like it for the fact that I get a lot of different storylines and you get a lot of different types of artwork as the storylines progress. And so I get to see a lot of that, and I like the combination of the art and the story.
Xena says, not a Star Wars fan, I need to find my Star Trek buddy.
I do enjoy Star Trek, but I'm not like huge into it. I mean,
we like
it.
we like the Star
I like
Trek.
it.
But we're not as into it as we are Star Wars.
Yeah. But
there's more lore in Star Wars than there is in Star Trek.
I like the Ninja Turtles. That's one of the comic series that I really follow. So. Archie, which is kind of silly, but Archie, I do like Archie a lot. Oddly enough, I have a lot of the Simpsons comics. I have Simpsons, like the #1 comic. I started that series. I picked up some Superman and I picked up some Star Wars. To me, a lot of the times the art and the artist will draw me in to a certain thing, and then of course it depends on the storyline. I kind of ebb and flow with Ninja Turtles. I'll read it for a while, and then when Donatello died, I was like, oh heck no, because Donatello's my boy. And so then I read the storyline.
And then people were really getting into like even the cover variations, and for me, I don't really care.
Yeah.
The
story's the same inside.
The story's the same inside.
It's the cover that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the covers and they're trying to collect all of them, and I'm like, but it's the same thing.
Well, and there's an artist that does cover variants, Scotty Young, and he does like chibi baby kind of things of all the things, and I just
the cool ones, the ones that were the lentricular covers are kind of cool. That would be something that I might think about picking up, but other than that, no, not really. I would just pick the one that I like the most.
I hated those sketch cover ones. That's just the white.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, but I want to see something. Now I got to go find somebody to draw on it. No, I'm good.
I've also, there's been kind of an uptick in comics and manga being like how we reach young readers, and so a lot of novels are being turned into comics, and so like Dean Koontz's Frankenstein, I picked that one up. I just picked up a Goosebumps the other day that I haven't read yet. The Archie has branched off from the original Archie that I was used to.
You know, it'd be cool if they made a comic
like a
out of.
Series.
What was the name of that? That book series that you had read. It's a whole bunch of. It's like almost like a whole bunch of like Disney stuff. But it's like in the future.
Yes. So Cinder and Cress.
Yes,
and all
Cinder.
Of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And the author of that is a huge anime, specifically Sailor Moon fan. I've actually gone and listened to her speak several times. I'm kind of a book nerd. And so she would probably love that. Anakin, honey. He wants to play. And that was really loud though. So I love the diversity of comics. I tend to be more of a DC person.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I just like Superman, and I like Batman's storyline, even though sometimes he's like so Batman, but he has some good storylines. I do like Spider-Man though. We've talked about this a lot of times before because I grew up with that being in the Sunday paper, so that was something that I read all the time with Spider-Man. And then I really enjoyed the X-Men cartoon.
Because for me,
so I
that
picked
was
up some X-Men as well.
The newspaper was the first exposure I had to comics, and it wasn't until high school that I really started. Oh, look, there's all of this here, and I don't know. It just opened up a whole new world for me.
I would say if you're trying to fall into the fandom of comics and you want to kind of get started, one of the easiest things.
Zena, they have Star Trek comics.
They do have Star Trek comics. They really have comics about just about anything. You can go to the public library and they have a lot of comics that you can borrow if you want to just kind of borrow some and start reading them. Another really, really good way to get started on that fandom is there is a free comic book day every year. I believe it's usually in May, I think. And a lot of the publishers put out something free so that you can kind of get a look into what their comics like so that you're interested, and then you'll buy it, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll read it. But it's a good way to get started as well. Dragon's Lair here in San Antonio, and you'd have to check if you're not here in San Antonio what your shops are like, but Dragon's Lair will let you get one of everything that they've got.
Because I think it was one of the comics that they did for Free Comic Book Day got you back into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It did, because it had been a while since I had read them, and it actually got me into a couple of the Star Wars comics that I've been picking up and reading as well. So the other thing that you can do, which is really easy, is there's an app you can get on your phone. It's called Comixology, but it's like comics with an X instead of a CS, so it's Comixology, and they have a lot of issues on there that are free for you to read. Now then, of course, they're going to want you to pay, right, to get some of the other issues, but there's some free stuff. And if you've watched Netflix show like The Umbrella Academy and some of these other things, these were comics before they were shows. You know, if you liked Daredevil and some of this other
I'm pretty sure
stuff.
that they released an Umbrella Academy on Free Comics Day.
Yeah, well, and it's free on Comixology too.
Mona says hi. Didn't know y'all were on.
Hey, girl.
Yes,
hey.
every Friday at 7.
Yeah.
Now I have some company for supper. Well,
yay! I hope you're having a nice dinner. So I think that comics is one of the easiest ones to jump into, and our sons do a lot of like reading and trading and buying. So there's a lot of groups that you can be part of, and they can help you look at, you know, how comics are graded if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and how you would sell them and things like that. I'm not really interested in that side of it. I have some that might have a little bit of worth to them, but a lot of mine are things that I've gotten like from estate sales, old beat up, battered kind of comics that have been loved too much. And I'm okay with that because I just like the art and the stories.
Yeah.
So it's just fun. It's going into another world, but actually visually getting to see it. It's getting to see different kind of art styles. It's seeing how these were interpreted in somebody else's mind as a movie or something, because we have so many of these comic movies, comic shows. So getting to see that interpretation. So I very much like that whole kind of comics fandom. That for me is a big one. Yeah.
How about for you, Aaron?
I have like 3 major things I always bounce around to, I guess. But like right now, Halo.
Yeah.
That's, well, because Halo was the game that started it all when it comes to first-person shooters, really. I mean, you have GoldenEye, which kind of on the 64, that kind of got it going. But then you have Perfect Dark also. But Halo is what really did LAN parties for first-person shooters. It started doing tournaments. People were trying to win money. It became huge, and they're actually celebrating 20 years this year this year's 20 years of Halo and technically of Xbox.
Wow, I have to take Dramamine to play anything like that.
Yeah, I can't do that. Love watching Red versus
love it.
Blue. Hilarious.
Yeah,
It's not my fault. Somebody put a wall in the way.
And it's like, it definitely is one of those, like, I enjoy that. I love the lore behind it. Eric Nyland wrote some of the books, and there's like, I was actually talking to my friend Duffy about this. There's 25 books right now, and like 4 or 5 comics, like trade backs of comics for it. I mean, there's a lot of lore behind the games.
Yeah.
So
And that's one that they expanded out because people like the universe so much, and they were like, hey, people really are enjoying this. Let's keep going with it,
Exactly. Like when they made Halo 1, there was no plans for a Halo 2, and then they were like, oh, this took off. We're making Halo 2.
I guess people really like it.
Yeah. Because like the book, they had the game, then the book came out that explained what led into the first game, and then they had Halo 2, then they had a book to explain what happened between Halo 2 and Halo 3. Or no, from Halo 1 and 2, between those two. And it's just like all these little gaps they were filling in as the games are trying to come out. And it's like, yeah.
And I think video game fandom is another one of those fandoms that has so many subgenres.
Yeah, well, Xena says Destiny 2 for her.
Destiny 2, also by Bungie too.
Well, see, and my kids have been super crazy about Super Smash Brothers. I didn't realize, like, they're super crazy about it. We even have esports teams now in Northside ISD, and they have like had a Smash Brothers tournament. Like, they are now training with the coach, who's one of our campus people, and he's training them to go to the tournaments, and they could eventually win scholarship money for playing Smash Brothers. But Smash Brothers just released some new DLC. And so my kids were just dying for it, and it was one of their kind of free days where we do, fun kind of stuff, and they were like, please, can we watch it, please? We want to see who they're releasing. And so we watched it together, just because that was something that was really big. And so now they're drawing everything, and they're playing, and they're making up their own stories. And so and they have little groups. They have little Google Hangout groups at school for like Super Smash Bros and stuff. So it's really cute. Like, I think it's very, and the younger crowd is very accepting that I've seen so far, the middle school kids.
Yeah. Like,
when it comes to, like, people want to be part of it, and you just started out, oh, hey, I'm going to show you who I think is the best. Like, I'm going to show you this is cute, and this is this backstory or whatever. And
as for video games, for me, it was Diablo.
Oh, Diablo.
Did you get the remastered one?
I haven't
done that yet.
No, I haven't done that yet. But even the very first one, I was addicted to. When it first came out, I was addicted to that one. And you could do LAN parties, but it was like completely different LAN party stuff that you had to configure stuff to get it to work.
Yeah, with the console, we just got a little 4-port hub, and you plug your Xboxes in, and you're good.
Yeah.
Well, so at one point, Vincent had, because our garage is converted, that's kind of where we do the YouTube show. So before, when the kids lived here, it was like the playroom or whatever in the office. So Vincent had his computer, dual monitor. Then he had like 2 computers, like one there, and then one upstairs because we have 3 boys.
Yeah.
So he had like built computers basically good enough so that everybody could play Diablo, and then they'd all be playing Diablo together.
Wow.
Like, just
Yeah.
obsessed. They were obsessed. They even made up a name for it. It was
Diablosis.
Diablosis type 1 or something.
Yeah.
It was like they had the
Diablosis.
sickness. It was Diablosis type 1.
See, mine was Diablo 2.
The condition of having to play Diablo.
Yeah.
When Diablo 2 came out, we were like that. All of us were, I think, freshmen in high school when that came out, and we were all playing. We were like that. It was like, okay, everybody get online. Like, we gotta start playing. Hell cows. I remember Hell cows.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was definitely your game. So my game is a Ninja Turtles. My games are arcade. Like, I'm old school arcade, like The Simpsons and the Ninja Turtles. Oh, I love anything that's like 4-player that I can kind of like sit in the back and have like a shooter character, and then like everybody does all the work for me and I don't die because I'm not very good at video games. So like,
And then she
Champions
goes
of,
behind and like steals all the treasure.
yeah, yes. So Champions of Norath,
you're good, Blackstone.
Gauntlet,
Gauntlet Legends.
yeah.
that
What
one.
was that? Alliance, the one with
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
yes,
Yeah.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Yep. Any of those that I could get the kids to play, and there would be like 4-player, and I'd be the 4th player.
I broke that game in Marvel Ultimate, the first one. If you put like all the points into Wolverine's healing factor, he never dies, because they could never do enough damage to like stop the healing.
Nice.
So always we had either the CPU be him, or there's always one player that was Wolverine, and it's like, yeah, because he can't die. He couldn't hit worth crud, but it's like nothing can hurt you. So can you like get everybody else up if they go down, or can you just run to the end or something?
Right.
I hated that, but I loved it because I was like, I need to beat this level. He can't get hurt.
He can't get hurt. Let's go. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. So, and I think video games is the kind of fandom where you just have to start, right?
Yeah.
You just start playing, and then you just kind of like talk to other people who are playing, and you practice. And there's so many YouTube videos of people like playing and stuff, and then you can get in the comments and see if there are people. And there's definitely
And apart
social
from that
media
too,
stuff.
with video games, there's also like tabletop games and board games and card games and stuff like that. And I know we've gotten together with Aaron and played some games and had a lot of fun.
Which we totally bought that game, dude. By the way,
Which one?
dude.
Dude. North Star Games, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Dude.
Such a fun little game.
It's a
Yeah.
stupid game. I'm gonna take it to school. It's gonna be so
Yes,
awesome.
They will love it.
They're gonna love it. So tabletop games is more of a together thing, right?
Yeah.
It's better. You can, because of COVID, they've gotten a lot more options of things that you can do electronically. But really, try to find a local shop and just go. Just go. For the most part, most of the tabletop gamers are pretty welcoming of everybody. There's always going to be that few, but just go. Try a game. You may have to try to pick up a few until you see that your personality meshes with some of the people there. I know here in San Antonio, Dragon's Lair has a board gaming night. They have things on the board where you can pick up and go be part of a role-playing game if you want to do that. They usually have people that are there that are willing to teach it to you, which is great. There was a new little cafe that
I
we
think
went
they
to.
have that on Mondays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a new little gaming cafe that we went to on Culebra just recently. Do you remember what the name of that one was?
Oh, yeah.
It's a little mom and pop place.
Yeah.
But they have a good game library, and they're willing to kind of show you how to play some of the games before you purchase some of them. Because some of these tabletop games nowadays are like $60, $80, right? Because they've got really great like pieces and artwork, and they're very involved and stuff like that. But like, like Wingspan is so gorgeous. Like, I love tabletop games. So you can go to some of these places, and you can use
Gamers Gems.
Gems. Yeah, usually the owners will help you, or they have somebody there designated that kind of helps you learn some of these games or picks up a game and play. Gamers Paradise here in San Antonio is more for like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon type stuff, but there's again, that's another subgenre of gaming, is like card gaming and stuff like that. But when it comes to tabletop gaming, card gaming, board gaming, role-playing gaming, you kind of need to go out into your community and look for the gaming stores, basically. And don't go to like Target, who has a gaming section, and expect that you're gonna like learn how to play a game. You need
Or
to
just
find...
happen to run into a gamer that's picking up a game at the same time.
Right.
I'm gonna stand here till someone shows up. This is kind of
I'm
awkward.
gonna stay here. There are social media accounts that you can get on for the gaming to see if you can pick that up, and a lot of the little shops will have a social media account where you can see you can reach out to them and see when they're having these gaming events too, if you want to pick up gaming. But
one of the other things too, the cyber cafes, like LFG Cyber Cafe, I like that because it's like $20 an hour or something like that, but they have all these different games you can try.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I see it streamed, I want to play it, but I don't know if I have anyone to play with. You can go there and see who's playing.
Right.
Like me, I love Rainbow Six Siege, but I don't have a team. I can't go competitive because it's like, I got no one.
Right.
I get randoms, but if I go there and it's like, hey, y'all need an extra, I can join you guys, and you have a group you can work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got stuff like that too.
Yeah, I think stuff like that, and it's hard to put yourself out there sometimes and try to meet new people, and it's kind of awkward and stuff. But you know, if you're playing a game, it kind of brings you together. I have a gaming club at school. I have a gaming club at school for my junior high kids, and my rule for myself is I don't play because I'm trying to get them. I can play. But I'm trying to get them to spend some time together and play with their peers. So it's been fun to see, and you'll see this with grown-ups too. It's like, you know, there's the D&D group here, and there's this other D&D group here, and they weren't quite full, and so then some of the kids wanted to pick it up, and they were like, okay, and they kind of bring them into the fold, right? And then there's this group that they were like, D&D seems kind of scary to me, not really like wanting to do that. Can we play some games? And so I just started them with Roll For It. Just real simple.
Yeah.
Showed a couple of them how to play Roll For It. They started showing a couple of more. They played that. Then when they got comfortable with that, they played like a little Uno and stuff. They played some Mancala, and then they went and started pulling some other games out of my cabinet and started playing some other things. And now they're reading the rules together. They're deciding if it's something that they like, and they've kind of got their little batch going. D&D's going over here. D&D's going over here, and that's like, it's nice. You just kind of meet people
And Roll For It is a really good way to get somebody that's never played an RPG to get an understanding of, okay, here's the card, this is what you need to roll.
Right.
And it kind of just like gets you in the mindset of, okay, well, I understand the role-playing game now because there's kind of like rules behind it.
Right.
And
I always love it because I understand role playing because I've been doing it for a long time, and the kids are playing D&D, and so if you get a natural 20 or if you get a natural 1, you're doing really great or you're doing really horrible.
I feel now I'm a better game master than I am a player anymore.
Really?
It used to be the opposite. I used to be a better player than I was a game master.
There are some times where I want to jump into their games because I'm like, man, I could play this game. It'd be so much fun. But I'll hear them every once in a while. You'll hear like a big ruckus, and I'll know, man, somebody's either hit that natural 20 or somebody's hit that 1 because some shenanigans are happening over there. And they're just like screaming and yelling. And it was funny this last time because one of them was trying to do like a horror type thing. So, and then the other ones were excited because they had something exciting going on, and they were like, hey, we're trying to set a vibe over here. So it's really cute. So it's just like fun thing, like just go be part of it. Just go try, you know.
Yeah.
Some of my kids were afraid at first to try, and I was like, just come try it.
Just,
you know,
fall into it.
Just fall into it. Just fall into it. Do we have enough time to talk about anime? I don't know how much time we have left.
7:45 right now. or
Oh,
about to be.
yeah, well, so we don't have enough time to talk about anime. Real fast, there's lots of anime everywhere. Same premise. Start watching it and like talk to people about it.
Pick one and go.
Yeah, just pick one and go.
There's like board games about it. There's a ton of
There's
stuff out
games
there.
about anime. There's manga you can read about the anime. There's anime about the anime. There's fan fiction about the anime.
Card games.
Just go.
It's all out
there. Just
there.
jump into it. Just jump into something.
Yeah. But thanks for checking this out. Having fun with us with our fandom, falling into fandom. But thanks for checking this out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and thanks so much, Aaron.
Geek out, SA.
SA.